guys know who the GOAT is, don't you?
Who?
I'm the GOAT.
I'm the goat.
I'm the goat.
Hey, stop eating stuff, Bob.
Bad.
Guys, I'm Mike, and this is the Board Game Rundown. And yep, I'm live on a really weird night. It is Tuesday. Wow, Tuesday. This has been a long Monday. I am live on a Monday. I am encroaching, thematic term there, on the full 42's night because it is Monday. They start in like a half hour. I don't know how many people are actually going to join me for this, but we are doing our first ever board game rundown fantasy football league. And so tonight I'm going to randomize the draft order. That's really all I'm doing tonight. Not really chatting a whole lot about board games, unless somebody gets bored and wants to ask me questions. But this is all just to set up the draft order for a fantasy football league. So maybe for those who are not aware, so I set up a fantasy football league this year, and there are 10 of us that are joining the league. We have, well, not all the members have joined yet. So there's that. We got two slackers. So we do have me in the league, of course. And for those that don't know, I probably have nerded out on fantasy football. I definitely have nerded out on fantasy football longer than I have board games, and that's why I'm very excited to share this passion with many of my board game friends and viewers. I'm in the league here. Our first slacker here that is not joined, that is Wes Todd. So the Mingo will be joining our league. We've got Rod Silver, who's been a viewer for a long time, and he is also in our Discord. Flutie Flakes here is Jason Smith from the Board Game Mechanics, a good friend of the show and a fellow football enjoyer. Slacker number 2 here is designer who deserves no introduction. That is Daryl Andrews. He will be joining us as well. And I will get these two slackers in the league much later. But of course, he has designed dozens of popular games like Sagrada and Mistwind and many others. Double Tap, that is Julia Olmsted. That is Tim's sister. Excuse me. We have Andrew Stiles, friend of the show and designer and podcaster. We've got Austin, who is a viewer of the show and is a regular in our Discord. We've got Steve, who's been a viewer of the show for a long time and has been submitting to our Discord for years now. And then, of course, we have my co host, Tim Aberly. So, those are all of the members of the league this year. For those that aren't aware of the rules of the league, I am using ESPN, as you can tell. And the rules that I'm going with a 2 quarterback league. Since we only have 10 members, I personally think that having one quarterback in a 10-team league is just far too easy. There's way more than 10 good quarterbacks in the NFL. So you can start 2 quarterbacks, but you can't have more than 3 on your roster. There are 32 starting quarterbacks in the league, so you'll be fine. 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a flex, a tight end, a defense, and a kicker. That's standard. It is 1 point per reception. So your backup running backs or guys who are in a running back by committee, if you will score points for those receptions they may get on third down. No bonus points for like yardage thresholds or anything like that. Uh, Passing touchdowns are 4 points, not 6. And I did ramp up a little bit of defensive scoring. I find ESPN defensive scoring defaults to be quite archaic. Like they ding you for points if your defense only gives up like 17 points. Newsflash, in 2025, it is very difficult for an NFL defense to hold a team to only 17 points. So I feel like you should earn points for that, not lose points for that. So don't reach for defenses outside of the last few rounds. They'll score a little bit more, but it's not enough to target them outside of the last few rounds. So there you go. That's the format. Those are the managers that'll be joining us. And I have a super, super technical very, very newfound technology that we will be using to randomize the draft. And that is a die roll. So had I been more prepared, I would have actually got a D10 because there are 10 managers. Problem is I'm at my girlfriend's house. I don't have all the dice here that I have at my house. So every manager is going to get assigned 2 numbers on the D20, and then we'll roll the D20 again, and that will tell you their draft order. So so without further ado, for those that are actually watching, yes, all I'm doing is randomizing the draft order for our fantasy football league. So not a whole lot of board game discussion going on, unless you're really bored by this and you want to throw me some curveballs in the chat. Staying on theme, it's sports related tonight. Sorry about you. Okay, so that being said, let me go here so you can see the randomizer. Hold on a second. I want the randomizer bigger. That's all right. This is fine. You can see what's going on. So first of all, I'm going to assign myself my first 2 numbers. This is not my draft order. This is just the numbers that when rolled will determine when I draft. So I have a 3. So I'm double randomizing this, and I'm using a freaking D20. So how random can it get? 3 and 4. All right, well, 4 is my lucky number, so maybe that's something. All right, Tim's numbers are 8 and 17. All right. Some people are like, what the heck is Mike doing? This is the worst game I've seen you guys ever play on the stream. All I'm doing is randomizing the draft order for a fantasy football league. I'm sorry, that was a 19. Trying to slide the die into position here, and I'm flipping it. That is a 7. No duplicates so far. How about this? That's a 12. That's a 2. Still no duplicates. It is a 9. Still no duplicates. This is crazy. Oh my gosh, I just realized I did this. No wonder it looked weird. I used freaking Julia's maiden name. Whoops, that's Tim's sister. Probably hasn't been called that in like 20 years. 30 years, more like it. Wow, 18. Man, what game can I play where like not matching allows me to keep going? When do I get to bank my points? 16. Holy crap, still no duplicates. Eventually, I'm going to get some duplicates. Okay, there's our first one. There's an 8. There's a 4. There's a 3. All right. I jinxed myself. There's a 2. See, this is where a D10 would have been nice, but hey, that's what happens when you don't leave all your games at your girlfriend's house. Nope, she's already got 10. 7's been assigned. 3. Nope, 3's assigned. 14 is assigned. Daryl gets my other lucky number. 15. 13. Not really paying attention to what numbers haven't been assigned. 7 was used. Jason gets a 5. 13 was also used. I just need one more unused number. 19 was used. 1. There we go. All right. So now what numbers have not been used? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 has not been used. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And the 20. Okay. There it is. So sorry, West. I guess that's karma for not joining the league yet. How awful. So, this is going to be pretty simple. How it's going to work is I'm going to roll the D20 again. And if I roll your number, that's your pick. So, for example, if I roll a 3 or a 4, I get the first pick. Now, I will say in this year of fantasy football, it's not really an advantage to pick first because in a draft like this, you draft on a snake format. If you have the first pick of the first round, you have the last pick of the second round. Not fun, not fun. You get last pick. You're kind of better off in that 3-4 spot. Hey, what's up, Andrew? Welcome back. All I'm doing is just randomizing the draft order for our fantasy football league. So we've got 10 committed managers this year. We are doing a paid league. All I'm doing is just rolling this D20 to pick that order. So thanks for joining me. I said there wouldn't be a whole lot of board game chat unless people really got sick of me rolling a die, but that's literally all I'm doing. I geek out on fantasy football. I've been doing fantasy sports for 26 years now. The reason I know that number exactly is because I've been in the same keeper fantasy baseball. Yes, I said fantasy baseball. We're talking hardcore fantasy, make a move every day for 5 months straight. I've been in the same league for 26 years now. And I know because the league is called Cubs Rule 26 with like the same 10 guys. It's pretty hardcore. So it's kind of interesting. It allows me to keep a timer on how long I've been doing fantasy sports. But I've been a gamer for like 12 years. So I've geeked out on this far longer than I have board games. So when the calendar flips over to August, I start thinking about preseason football. I start thinking about NFL season coming up soon, and August means fantasy football drafts. I have already done 2. I got a few more. This one drafts this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and I am about to set the draft order. So I randomly rolled the D20 here to assign everybody a random number. Whoever's number is rolled first gets the first pick. So here we go. Here is the first pick up for grabs. It is a 4. I did say that is a lucky number for me, but the first pick in the draft is not what I wanted. I will tell you that vehemently. I do not want the first pick. You're probably going to see. I usually like to pick running backs and not wide receivers. So just say that. Number 19 is Rob Silver gets the second overall pick. Number 7, Steve Styles with the third pick of the Rundown Fantasy League Draft. 8, Tim Aberly with the fourth pick. It's collusion. The 2 hosts are in the top 4. Clearly collusion. All right. Keep going. Number 9. That is Austin, our friend in the Discord, aka Saki. I just Saki'd him the fifth pick of the draft. Number 11. That is Wes Todd. Doesn't show up, but still gets a decent pick here. So it's down to Julia, Daryl, Andrew, and Jason for the bottom 4 picks of the draft. Number 9 was rolled. That was Austin. Number 9's hot. Rolled the 11 as well. Number 2. Nope, that was rolled. Man, now I'm getting all the duplicates. 17 was Tim's again. Number 3. Dang it, that's me again. 20, that's West. Wow. Come on, that was a 10. If I can keep it up straight. There we go. Daryl gets the 7th pick of the draft. So Julia, Andrew, and Jason fighting for these bottom picks. Julia with the 8th pick. Oh man. I feel far sorry. Actually the 10th pick is not that is not that bad. I think it's only bad in the first round because you pick last. But every other round you get to pick first, which really isn't that bad. Some people really don't like those back-to-back picks, and I will tell you, picking last in the second round and first in the third round when you have the first overall pick, brutal. I'm honestly not a fan. I did it Saturday in a 12-man league, and I don't love my team. 20 was rolled, 18. Come on. 10. Nope. 15, 13, 5, and 1. 15, 13, 5, and 1 is what we're looking for. Our very scientific method here. Jeez, I'm never going to roll them. 15, 13, 5, and 1. Come on. Wow. It's never going to happen. 13. There it is. That goes to Andrew Styles. Man, so unfortunately, Jason Smith has the 10th pick of our draft. So let's go ahead and maximize this. So the final results of the Board Game Rundown Fantasy Football League draft. I picked first, Rob Silver second, Steve Styles third, Tim fourth, Austin Robertson fifth, Wes Todd sixth, Daryl Andrews seventh, Julia eighth, Andrew Styles ninth, and Jason Smith 10th. So I did this live, so there's no disputing the results. I know the die was kind of small there, but like why would I fudge this? Especially after I told you I don't want the first pick. I don't think it's that big of an advantage. I personally think having the second and third pick is way better. Of course, I never discussed if we'll have draft pick trading, but we're trying to keep this league fairly casual. Like, you don't have to be like a complete guru to be competitive. The other thing about fantasy football, I always say there's 3 parts to being successful in any fantasy sport. 1, the draft. You got to pick good players during the draft, but that's only a third of how you're successful in fantasy football. Number 2, moves during the season. Are you picking up players when starters are getting injured? Are you swapping out defenses to maximize matchups or kickers? Or putting in like your third or fourth wide receiver when they have better matchups than your 1 or 2 wide receiver. And number 3, the luck and injury bug. Sometimes your starters get hurt. And if your number 1 back goes out, you may not survive it. And that is the luck aspect of fantasy football. If you have the first overall pick and you take, say, Jamar Chase, and he tears his ACL in week 3, might be tough to compete. So luck is a factor. Those are the 3 factors in being successful in fantasy football. Make a good draft, make moves during the season, and hopefully you get lucky and your starters don't get hurt. There you go. That is my randomized draft order. Hope everybody is having a good Monday night. Oop, that's not what you want. There you go. That was my Panda spin box that I used to roll my D20 in. Hope everybody's having a good Monday night. That's probably it for me, unless somebody is like, "Hey, Mike, answer a board game question for me," or "Tell me a little bit more about your favorite football team." There we go. I'll answer my own question. The Colts. The Indianapolis Colts are my favorite football team. I'm from Northern Indiana, and I pick regional teams that are close to me. Um, Colts, Pacers, Chicago Cubs, of course, because Indiana does not have a basketball team or a baseball team. And of course, as many people know, Gen Con is half held in Lucas Oil Stadium, home of the Indianapolis Colts, built by Peyton Manning. Optimism for this season, it's going to be a middling year. We're going to win like 7 to 9 games. I'm seeing projections how we're like a bottom team in the league, like we're bottom 5. I don't see that. Is our quarterback play going to be exceptional? Probably not. Have I given up on Anthony Richardson? No. I still think he has a ton of talent and he can make ridiculous throws still. If he ever gets a little bit more accuracy, and his decision making becomes a little bit quicker, like, yeah, I could see him winning games for us. I've already seen him win games for us. I mean, the times when they put Flacco in last year, is he a more accurate and smarter quarterback? Yes, but did he win them games? Not really. I saw Richardson win games for them, marching them down the field in the 2-minute drill. And so, yeah, I am still optimistic about him. We're we're at year 3 at this point, and so like that optimism is starting to fade. Like if we're not starting to see him hit the easy passes now, then yeah, the skepticism starts to creep in. But they have a very good offensive line. Jonathan Taylor is still a borderline top 5 wide receiver in the league. They've improved their wide receiver core quite a bit through the draft the last couple years. Um, um, Adonai Mitchell, I expect to take a pretty big step forward. Michael Pittman should be healthy. Josh Downs really looked like he was starting to come into his own last year. And our GM, who typically sits on his hands in free agency, made some huge moves in bringing in Pro Bowler safety and cornerback. Talking about um, Cameron Bynum and Charvarius Ward. Great pickups. A few years too late though. Like their secondary has been a problem for years, and like now they're finally trying to help out the secondary. I am definitely hoping that Latu can step up. But he unfortunately kind of looks like he has Quiddy Pay syndrome. The other end on our team, who was drafted in the first round, who had high hopes out of Michigan, where he can get in the backfield, but he never really wraps anybody up. And so, like on the stat sheet, he's not really getting a whole lot of tackles for loss and sacks. Latu was a monster in college, though. So, like, I really hope that his aggression and his like explosive first step starts translating into sacks. We do still have DeForest Buckner, who's one of the best defensive tackles in the league. Our linebacker core is not quite as good because once they start asking for more money, we tend to ship them off and draft replacements. Um, EJ Speed, bye bye, unfortunately. One of those cap casualties. We do have a new defensive coordinator, which I'm actually excited about. He was from the Bengals last year, and he will actually change up his scheme. When the Colts were at their best, yes, they had Tony Dungy in there and they ran that Tampa 2 or cover 2 or 2 deep safeties, which has become almost too predictable in the NFL now. Tom Brady used to say, if you're going to run the same zone 90% of the time, I know where the gaps are and where the ball's going before I even snap it. And so to bring in the Bengals defensive coordinator who actually changes up his defensive alignments, I'm seeing more changes in their defensive alignments in the preseason than I saw for the entirety of last year. It's not going to be a predictable formation on the defensive end, which does excite me a little. Maybe we'll actually blitz somewhat, because I mean, God forbid we actually send a 5th guy at the quarterback. So there you go. Break down a little bit of my team. I guess since I said I would not overlap with the full 42 and you wanted to put me on the spot, who would I put in the Super Bowl right now? Dang, I might have to think about that a little bit more. I can't like make an official pick right here. I honestly haven't like put thought into it. When I do that kind of stuff. Again, I'm pretty hardcore. I'm going to look at schedules. Do they have a tough schedule? Who do they play at home? That kind of stuff. But the Bills are going to be scary. I'm still never going to rule the Chiefs out as long as Mahomes is taking snaps and their defense is still very good. Kelsey's getting up there, but watch out for this Xavier Worthy kid. And Rashee Rice is a stud, but he's going to miss time because of that suspension. The Ravens, they're still a great team, but they got to get over that postseason hump, and they haven't. So I think it's easy to say Chiefs, Ravens, Bills favorites in the AFC. NFC, I easily the Eagles would still be a favorite. Um, um, I'm going back to the Discord and I'm getting myself distracted as I'm reading. Saki, you draft here. Let me put you. He says he's in a bar. Oh yeah, so he can't hear me. Got it. All right, so let's do this then. Let me show you your draft order. So there you go. You draft fifth. So there you go. Not bad. That's honestly not a bad spot. I think that's better than being at the tail end. It is. There's a lot more pressure when you're on the beginning or end of a round and you've got like 2 picks in a row. It can be really tough. Sometimes you're like, well, the guy I want, it's a reach to take him now. But if I don't take him now, he won't come back to me in the next round. Yes, sir. You do have the fifth. Not bad. It's honestly not a bad pick. You can get you should be able to get one of those high-end receivers or backs of your choice, which is nice. You want my advice, you can look at ESPN formats, but I will oh, there you go. He wants to drink a fifth when he thinks about football. I mean, in no particular order, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and CeeDee Lamb are your top 3 wide receivers. Then you go Barkley, Bijan Robinson, and Jahmyr Gibbs. So top 3 wide receiver running back territory. If you're in the top 6 of the draft, I don't think you can go wrong with any of those 6 players at all. So if you're in the top 6, like you're sitting pretty. I get my preference. And I will just say I tend to lean towards running backs because it's a lot easier to find depth at wide receiver later in the draft. So you're going to find me picking Saquon or Bijan Robinson. I'll just tell you that right now. Um, I had first pick in a 12-man draft on Saturday. But unfortunately, we have a really weird keeper format where people can keep guys that they drafted last year at that draft position. All the top 6 guys were gone. And my keeper could have been Christian McCaffrey, but I'm like, I've been burnt on him so many times. He either wins you a league or loses you a league because you drafted him in the first and then he misses 12 weeks. I didn't want to keep him. So I took CeeDee Lamb. I don't think that's terrible. He's still, again, one of the top 6 players, but I had to use him with my first pick. And then I didn't get to pick again until pick 24. And then you've got that 2 in a row thing. So the first pick can be tough, especially in a 12-team format. So there you go. Anyway, I've probably gone on way too long. The full 42 is about to start. So don't spend your night watching me. Go watch the full 42. They'll actually talk about board games. If you're here, I hope you weren't too bored by the football chat. That's what we're doing. It's almost football season, and I can't wait. And even though I'm not that optimistic about my Colts, it is still football season, and I live and breathe fantasy football. So hopefully that's obvious after hearing my chat tonight. And you enjoyed my super high-tech draft randomizer 2.0. Saki had Christian McCaffrey 2 years in a row. He was injured for both. Thoughts and prayers. That's really what it is. You live or die by McCaffrey. And that's why I say 33% of fantasy football can be luck. If your first round pick gets hurt, good luck. You got to have great depth. You have to nail your draft. You got to have amazing depth at the running back position to make up for a loss of your first round pick. What made it really tough? All right, I appreciate it, guys. I'll go a little longer. I love this stuff. I'm telling you, I live and breathe fantasy sports. It's been a thing for me for over half my life now. I met my first um, fellow fantasy managers in college when I went to Purdue my sophomore year, and like I said, I've been in the same league with those guys for 26 years now. It's a commitment, but I love it. I nerd out on the numbers and trying to figure out average draft projections and well, this guy usually goes in the 5th, but I got him in the 7th, that kind of stuff. Figuring out breakout stars. Um, but yeah, I had a league where I kept McCaffrey for years. Like I drafted him his rookie year, 3rd round. And so that same league, um, you keep him in the previous draft pick. So I got to keep him in the 3rd round the following year. So that value was amazing. But after you pick or keep a guy once, you have to keep him in the 1st round. That's where it gets tough. So then you start trying to pick your younger players or your rookies throughout the draft. So maybe they'll become value keepers the following season. Ooh, I picked this rookie in round 5, and now he's a starting running back for whatever team. And man, that would be great value for the following season. Well, I kept McCaffrey ever since I picked him as a rookie. I've had him every single year, and everybody hates me because, well, the majority of his career, he's been the best running back in the league when he plays, when he's healthy. Um, Appreciate the thumb. If you enjoy this kind of chat, the more thumbs, the merrier. I appreciate you guys, especially some of you that are popping on now. I'll go a little bit longer because, well, I can. I love this topic. But I need some water because I'm going solo. I'm used to having breaks. But yeah, injuries can kill you in football. It is what it is. What up? Talking fantasy football a little bit longer, while people are still engaging with me here. I live for it. So you know what, just for fun, let's um let's just go down. Yeah, let's do this. There you go. I guess I can get the randomizer out of there and put myself on top because it just looks better. Yeah, so like I said, I mean this top 6 is not really changing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In every format you're in, those are your top 6 players in every single league. It doesn't matter if you're doing PPR or not. Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, Barkley, Gibbs, Bijan Robinson. And me personally, I like to get those backs. Because having depth at that position is huge, and it's so much easier to get wide receivers later in the draft. I can get good wide receivers in like round 7. Try finding starting running backs in round 7. You can't really do it. You might get lucky and a guy gets hurt, and then you find one off the waiver wire. Um, so that's where some of that luck comes in. And being active during the year, you might draft a good team, but you need to be able to supplement the guys on your bench that aren't playing and find guys that are getting playing time that you can pick up and swap them for the guys that are just, the guys on your bench that maybe aren't panning out or are, 4th wide receivers on their depth chart. Yeah, it really does depend on the pick, though. I mean, if you are sitting at the bottom end of the 1st round, I'm not gonna be mad at you if you don't go for McCaffrey. His risk is just insane. Um, I I mean, being able to grab one of these other stud wide receivers like Amon Ra, Nakua, Neighbors, who's way too low on ESPN here. Um, you know, there's there's really good, consistent wide receivers, and this is a PPR format. And so you'll definitely get receivers that will consistently score for you all year long. And sometimes just having two number one wide receivers can carry you for the entire year. I also, one of my strategies is never reach for a quarterback. And this is one of the reasons I decided to go with a 2 QB league. In standard ESPN formats, say 10 teams, 12 teams, doesn't matter. There's easily 12 good quarterbacks in the NFL, easily. And there's always multiples of them that exceed expectations. And I'll go like historically down the list. Last year, Bo Nix. All right. He was drafted at the end of drafts. In 10 team leagues, he wasn't even drafted. And then he became a top 8 fantasy quarterback last year. I might be too high. He was at least top 10. The year before, CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud was now coming in his rookie year. There was a lot more hype for him than there was Bo Nix, but still, people weren't taking him in like the first 6 or 7 rounds. He was going outside of the first 10 rounds, and then he was a top 5 fantasy quarterback his rookie season. It's not just rookies either. Sometimes you get these guys that didn't pan out in their first few seasons that figure it out, like Baker Mayfield. Nobody saw him going to the Bucks and becoming a top 5, top 6 fantasy quarterback. And now it's like he won't go out of the 6th round in any format I've seen. Um, you know, Sam Darnold was ridiculous last year, and nobody even drafted him last year. So yeah, in single QB formats, I do like to wait. But yeah, this is actually going to be my first 2 QB league. I'm looking forward to that challenge of something different. And again, with 10 teams, having 20 starting quarterbacks, there's easily 20 good quarterbacks in the NFL. And I just kind of wanted that extra challenge. I did put a max at 3 on a roster because I just don't want people hoarding quarterbacks. That's annoying to me. So you only need 3. Um, but yeah, I am not the one that you'll see grabbing Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson in the first 3 rounds. I've never been one of those. I will fill my I will always at minimum wait till round 6 or 7. Give me my starting running backs, my starting wide receivers, give me my flex, maybe even give me my depth. If there's tight end value there, I'll take it. Otherwise, I'm waiting till round 7 for a quarterback. And that's usually the earliest I will go. I have been notorious for being able to find uh, really good starting quarterbacks, value quarterbacks, by being the last team to take a quarterback. So I just wait until there's 9 quarterbacks off the board, and then I sit and watch. But not in this league, not in a 2 QB league. So, um, man, I can't believe I actually turned this into a 38-minute show. What's funny is I have this one dynasty league. So let's talk about how hardcore this actually gets. My dynasty league, you must have 45 players on your roster. You start a quarterback, 5 offensive players, but you get to pick any offensive formation. So you want to go 5 wide with 5 receivers? That's a legit football formation. So you can start with 5 wide receivers, no tight ends, no running backs. You can go wishbone. You can start 3 running backs and 2 tight ends. Or you can go 4 wide with single back, or your standard 2 wide, 2 tight end, single back. So 5 offensive players. No, I fully expect that. Somebody will, especially in this kind of format. Um, but yeah, this dynasty league, then you have to have an offense as a whole, and that's a roster spot. You have to have a coach, got to have a kicker, got to have a punter, and individual defensive players. So you do start 11 defensive players, and you got to go with legit formation. So linebackers tend to score the most because tackles are the stat that really kind of rack up, kind of like receptions in a PPR league. So most teams try to run a 4-3, which is your four linebackers and your two defensive ends and one tackle. But sometimes you can't. Sometimes you got to start three linebackers and four defensive linemen. But then you got to have two corners and two safeties at minimum. And you have to have a minimum of 45 players on your roster. And there's a salary cap, and you have to set yearly limits. And so your salary for the highest player in the league, Saquon Barkley or Jamar Chase, might be like 35, 40 million. But because that's so high, maybe you don't want to put him on a 3-year contract. Maybe just put him on a 1-year contract. Then he becomes a free agency, and then you can bid on him the following year and hope his value comes down slightly. In this format, look, I haven't done any 14-man leagues, but I don't even think in a 14-man league you would see people drafting Anthony Richardson. And what's crazy is last year he was going in the 5th or 6th round. Like that's where the hype train on Anthony Richardson had reached its pinnacle. Was last year. I still, hey, I'll go back to it. I still think there's skill. I think the ceiling is still high, but he's got to process faster. He doesn't see the blitz a lot of times. He needs to start throwing at the blitz instead of looking at the opposite side of the field. As soon as you see movement, you should know that's where your short read needs to be on the guy that's moving at you before you hike it. But he hasn't figured that out yet, and his accuracy is just still really poor. Hitting his checkdowns, hitting his intermediate routes, his crossing routes. He still sails the ball above guys' hands. Even to Tyler Warren, who's 6'5" and has a ridiculous catch radius, he's still throwing the ball over his head, behind running backs that are doing like quick outs. But yet he can throw a 65-yard bomb he can throw dimes on his back foot. It's insane. He just has to be more consistent at the short gimme routes. And until he does that, processes faster and knows where the ball needs to go based on the formation, his ceiling is limited, not by his tools, but unfortunately by his accuracy and inability to read what the defense is showing him. But yeah, and injured. That's the other part. I mean, he already dislocated his pinky like in the 3rd snap of preseason. It's like, oh God, here we go again. Saki, I heard you say in the Discord, I'll talk about somebody else's team for fun, just to show you how much I do pay attention here. I did not hear you say who your team is. You said they're not very good. And I didn't hear you say who they were. They're not local to you, so I'm assuming it's not the Falcons. Somebody give me another team to talk about, and I'll go on that tangent, and then maybe I'll wrap this up. But yeah, Richardson not going to get drafted this year. But like I said, I haven't given up hope. He doesn't have a lot of reps. He hasn't played much. And man, there are some times that he just makes throws and you're just like, wow. Dislocated a pinky while playing Arcs. I could see that. I could see it. Oh, Giants. Okay. Jackson Dart hasn't looked bad. I think it's actually probably better if they start Russell Wilson, even though he's washed. I don't think they should put all the pressure on the rookie quarterback. That doesn't always work out. I mean, look at Anthony Richardson. He needed some time to develop and he didn't get it. So I kind of think it's better that Dart has some opportunity to kind of watch a little bit. And Russell Wilson, even though he may not have it like he used to, he's still a smart quarterback. Um, he can still make the necessary throws. So there is something to learn from Russell Wilson. That's not a bad guy to have on your squad to be mentoring him. And of course, he's going to have Malik Neighbors to throw to, and he was just absolutely ridiculous. I think if either one of those guys has a decent year, you could see Darius Slayton step up a little bit. I think Wandale Robinson could be a great threat over the middle for either one as well. Him and those crossing routes, I could easily see if they have a decent passing game at all. Wandale should have like 80 plus receptions, easy. He's actually a really in deeper leagues. I think he's really good value in PPR leagues. I really like him in like 12-man leagues at like the bottom 2 or 3 rounds. Somebody beat me to him this weekend. I like Wandale. He was actually somebody I wanted the Colts to consider taking. But their defense is going to be a lot better. So there might be some teams that are sleeping on the Giants. Um, no, I don't think they're going to. It's still the Eagles and the Commanders division, but they can beat the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys are notorious for choking. So, and I don't think the Cowboys defense is that good. The Giants actually have a better defense than they do this year. They've made some pretty good picks on the defensive side, and Abdul Carter looks like a freaking monster. I cannot wait to see him play. That guy just is making offensive linemen look like fools. I just hope they've done something with their offensive line, because that was always the problem with Daniel Jones. He never had enough time to throw the ball. But the Giants defense looks like it could be pretty legit this year. With I'm missing names, not just Abdul Carter, but Thibodeau. Thibodeau should take another step forward. And a Colts linebacker that they decided not to pay, Okereke, is always very consistent in the middle. And I actually like the second year safety out of Minnesota, Tyler Nubin. I really like that pick when they made him. I do tend to pay attention to Big Ten football when I can because I'm from the Midwest. Tyler Nubin, I think will take a pretty good leap forward too. So yeah, people are probably sleeping on the Giants. I don't think they're going to be bad. I would not be surprised if they're a 500 team. And that's like not saying that they're going to be like good, but they haven't been a 500 team since that one year that Daniel Jones earned his contract and made the playoffs and actually won a postseason game for them with his legs, and then unfortunately never really did anything after that because, well, they didn't have a line at all, and he's just his ceiling is very limited. Um, okay, I got a trade question here. Devonte Adams plus a first and a second for Devonta Smith and Judkins. Okay, so first of all, Judkins should play the whole year, assuming he's healthy. He was acquitted, so he's not going to be missing any time due to well, legal matters. I think the Browns are going to have to run the ball. The reason they've got 6 freaking quarterbacks on that roster is they don't know who's going to lead them from the pocket, which means they're going to have to rely on running the ball. Nick Chubb's in Houston now. They've got 2 rookies, him and Dylan Sampson. Judkins is the one they picked earlier. And if they continue being a running team like they have been every year under Stefanski, Judkins could be very good. I like his I'm seeing him slip in drafts, and I like where you can get him. You can get him pretty late now, like ninth, 10th round in a lot of leagues, or later um in 10-team leagues. But man, Devontae should be good if Matt Stafford is healthy. But that back is bothering him again in this preseason, and their backup is Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, how many more seasons does Devontae have of competitive football? He's, 32 now? And Stafford's only going to be around for maybe a few more years. He took a beating in those Detroit days. I don't see him as a guy that's going to play until he's 41, like a Rodgers or a Brady until he was 90. Man, Devonta Smith is up and down. Like there's just some weeks where he's just like he gets a few deep balls and he's one of the best scorers in the league. And then there's just other times they win with short routes and handing the ball off to Barkley and letting their defense carry them. Devontae Smith always scares me. Like his numbers are the same from year to year, but from like week to week, he just he can be frustrating for me. So Devontae and a first and a second. Devontae Adams for in a first and a second for Devontae Smith and Judkins. I don't know which side of this you're on. I guess my question is, do you think your team can win this year? If your team can win this year, I'd take Devonta Smith and Judkins. You're getting much better depth. You're getting a running back that I think can contribute now, and somebody that can be pretty good down the in the next few years. Hopefully, his legal issues are a one-time deal. I mean, when you hear about stuff like this while a guy is getting drafted, you wonder if there's a pattern of this. Is my only concern. Like you just signed your first multi-million-dollar contract and you're already having problems. Like that's always something I get nervous about. Um, if you're a win now team, I'd take Smith and Judkins. Nah, you'd be getting Smith and Judkins. You can contend this year. Not sure if you can win, but still getting younger at wide receiver and getting a young, yeah, getting younger. Both of those. The thing is, too, is that like Devontae probably has the most upside for this year. In the next couple of years, I just don't know how much more Stafford has in the tank. I don't remember what kind of Devontae Adams contract. He signed a 2-year deal. So they got him for this year and next year. I still think man, I mean the what did I just do? There we go. Okay, sorry. I have too many tabs open. I would hang on. I'd probably do Devonta Smith and Judkins. I really do think Judkins can turn out. I do. And that's probably where my optimism is coming from. A first round pick can be really good in dynasty though. But and if you have a good team though and you're picking later, it's not as good. Yeah, for this year, I think I'd want Smith and Judkins though. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I find this stuff kind of fun and I do it. The dynasty leagues are crazy, but like I said, mine has a salary cap and individual defense players. But I do like Judkins. There's a reason they picked him where they did. And the only thing is the Browns might be if they're mediocre at quarterback, they're going to be playing from behind and they're going to have to throw a lot. So their quarterbacks might get a lot of garbage yards. And unless I don't know well enough to know if Judkins has good hands and will be on the field for third down. If he's an all-around back, then he should be out there catching those checkdowns on third down. But I believe Judkins can be a pretty good player. I do. And I think Cleveland is a decent enough system where if they do figure out the quarterback position, then he should produce as early as this year. It's just that Devonta Smith always week to week scares me a little bit. And I think the other thing to remember with Devontae Adams is they still got Puka Nakua on the other side. So Stafford's got to divvy the ball up. I mean, at this point in their careers, Puka might be better than Devontae. And Devontae wasn't, excuse me, I know he was a Raider, but Devontae wasn't great last year. Now, I don't know if that was just like not caring because he's on a bad team regression. Um, whoops. But yeah, I would still take Smith and Judkins. Yeah, I mean they got Devontae Adams is like basically like a third round wide receiver. You might see some teams taking him in the second. I say that's a reach. There's much younger wide receivers I would want in the second round. Third round is about where Devontae should go. As far as Devontae Smith, if I can spell his name right. There we go. Pulling up the. Oh, geez, I don't have it going far enough down. I don't know. I'm still breaking down this trade just for fun. Yeah, I should probably get off shortly. Devontae usually goes in like the sixth. And still I've seen, I don't know, I think Judkins just has great upside for where he's going, which tends to be like in the 10th. That's what I'm seeing. I've seen him go as high as like the 8th. But man, I think people are still assuming he's going to miss time and he's not. He's not. He's going to be a week 1 starter. And like just ask yourself how many times you can get a week 1 running back RB1 in round 10. His value is insane to me. I love him in a lot of drafts. And people are drafting him earlier than I'm willing to go. So I gotta like up my willingness to draft him higher if I want him. People are beating me to it, and I like the kid. All right. Um, this turned into an hour show. But I'm glad I had some people listening. I really get hyped up for fantasy football, if that's not obvious. But I love it, and I can do these like detailed breakdowns every week. I might consider doing it for since we have since we've got a league. So part of this was to kind of gauge if there would be interest and that sort of thing. But I have been doing fantasy sports for 26 years now. This year I am in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leagues, including $150 dynasty league, $100 12-man keeper league that I already drafted. And then this board game rundown league, which is a $20 league, just to make sure people are interested and don't lose interest by the end of October. And like one freebie with like some buddies that I don't get to see very often. I also do 2 baseball leagues. One of them I may end up dropping after this year. I'm getting a little fantasy fatigue on baseball. I don't have the same fervor for fantasy baseball that I used to. It's such a grind, 5 months every single day. But I'm the commissioner in one of those leagues, so there you go. That just gives you an idea of my fantasy history and why I really get into it. And yeah, maybe I can help some people out with this kind of stuff because I love analyzing the trades and the draft value and that kind of stuff. So, all right. Well, I rambled for an hour. Fantasy, well, not just fantasy, but football season is almost upon us. I cannot wait. It is almost September. It's my favorite time of the year. The weather starts to cool down, which I think a lot of us badly need. Football is almost in the air, folks, and I could not be more excited. So If you made it this far and you're not a subscriber, please do. And even if you are, appreciate watching. A thumbs up can always help. I might do more of these in the future because I just love myself some football. So you guys enjoy your Monday night. And don't forget to watch us on Whiskey Wednesday at 8 p.m. We've got Tony Lawhorn. He is the designer of Cattywampus coming out from Third World Studios later this year. Fun little sort of drawing party game. We're going to be talking about the best games from a first-time designer, a topic we've never actually done before, requires a little bit of research, and that research is part of the fun of those lists. So, yeah, there you go. Appreciate everybody for the board game rundown. I was Mike, and I will see you Wednesday night.
Do you like to party?
I do like to party.
I also like to party.
I like to party.
A 7.3.
This is a great party.
Repeating.
We should party more often.
Heating.
I do like to party.
Heating. Okay.
I also like to party. I also like to party.
I like to party. I like to party.
We should party more often.
Okay.
This is a great party.
Okay.